First, how do you fight or even explain the invisible machine?
Imagine the future. A strange new weapon detonated high over a large city. No explosion, no visible destruction, but everything electronic within the range of this weapon dies permanently. Every electronic gadget in every home and office disabled. No computers, no TV, no life support systems in hospitals, no water supply, no heat, no lights. Truly a return to the Dark Ages.
Everything that we've built up in the last 200 years, let alone in the last 20 years, would be completely destroyed, would be non-existent. Imagine the cost that it would be to rebuild our cities. Think of it in terms of transportation. We might even have to pump water. It's at that basic level.
Imagine a full range of new weapons. One can take out the electricity in your city. The other can destroy you.
We have been testing what I'm going to call microwave weapons for crowd control. You can affect a large area by sweeping the beam and making sure that people are in the beam long enough to get a very nasty sensation of being cooked, which, to a very fine depth, they are.
If you haven't heard about these weapons, it's no surprise. Their development has been secretive, and they sound more like science fiction than reality.
We're just learning enough about the science to be dangerous. It's like giving a kindergartner a hand grenade and hoping they don't pull the pin.
Welcome to the world of electromagnetic warfare. Bell Island, Newfoundland, on the edge of the Atlantic. A uniquely quiet place until one Sunday morning in April 1978. As people made their way to church, a colossal bolt of energy shot straight out of the sky, blasting the peaceful island. Barbara McKim witnessed the bolt from her house in Conception Bay, 20 kilometers from Bell Island.
We heard this terrific, loud bang, boom noise. The house shook. The dishes rattled in the cupboards. We ran to the living room window and looked out in time to see an oval-shaped object that was moving very, very quickly, and it just seemed to leave a bit of a trail behind. It was quite loud, quite deafening. There was no wobbly movement or anything, no, it was just a trajectory that was heading toward, as we thought at the time, the ocean, but subsequently it did land on the island, yeah.
The bizarre beam was seen by dozens as it exploded onto the property of Jim and Susie Beckford, shattering the solemn Sunday morning. Television sets exploded, fuses shot out of the walls, balls of fire tore through houses.
Yes, I was on the island, April 2nd, 1978.
Steve Parsley, neighbour and son-in-law of the Beckfords, had just left the barn when the bolt struck.
Well, we looked there through the door and seen, all we could see was dust and ore rust, everything else gone. It's where all the shed blowed up, so it's in the barn blowed up. But it's an awful blast.
Satellites registered light emissions equivalent to those of a 10-megaton blast, making it one of the biggest emissions in history. In Ottawa, Canadian military scanners also picked up the 10-megaton blast. The Prime Minister was alerted, and Fire Inspector Jim Farrell dispatched.
As soon as I saw the fuses and the embedment in the wall, I knew I had something here that was different. I was amazed. The barn was in shambles. Chickens and hens were dead. When I saw the electricity after, or the supercharge after attacking the nails in the floor. When I went outside, I noticed the wires, the insulation just ripping off the wires. I showed Mr. Beckford. He was amazed. He said, "My God, what was it?" And I said, "Boy, I don't know."
While the military investigation continued, the intelligence branch of the RCMP decided to launch their own inquiry.
We had reports from across the Conception Bay here of people that reported seeing objects fall on the island and that. So we checked that out. I ruled it as an electrical, possibly lightning or ball lightning, and that's how we concluded our file.
It wasn't a lightning strike. It was a boom of a ray. It was something like I would see in a James Bond movie.
Lightning, I don't think this blast up here, you know, we came from God knows where, investigating them. So it seems like it was, you know, it was more than lightning.
The official reports concluded that the blast was caused by ball lightning, but the local residents were skeptical and wondered if it had really been caused by a failed military experiment. This was 1978, and given the Cold War climate, speculation and fear were rampant. Russia and the Americans were protecting and developing their nuclear arsenals. Reason enough for fear. But what wasn't known about was the developing and testing of a very new and secret wave of weapons. By the time the blast occurred on Bell Island, these electromagnetic or directed energy weapons had been in the works for 30 years. This research has continued and will usher in a whole new way of war.
The revolution in military affairs, the RMA as the military calls it, which is a total shift away from bombs, bullets, and ordnance into energy weapons as the primary driver, whether it be high-powered lasers, ion beams, microwave radiation for creating heat sensations on the body. This is where the direction is going. And the military, in a paper called The Revolution of Military Affairs and Conflict Short of War, written in 1989 by the U.S. Army War College, talked about this shift, and they equated it to the discovery of, or the introduction rather, of gunpowder in the Middle Ages in Europe and the introduction of atomic weapons in the last century. The change that's taking place now is just as profound as the changes that took place then.
It has been said that the history of mankind is the history of war. If that is true, then the history of man is about to take a frightening leap into the future.
Since the beginning of the age of modern science, you've obviously seen a rapid development in rapid improvement in the technology of weapons. It's perfectly obvious. You starting with gunpowder, really. The cannon-bearing ship, the rise of air forces, improvements in explosives,